heard tales about him all my life. Most just called him the Crooked Man.
Hellboy creator Mike Mignola is a big fan of mythological stories and folklore, and tweaked those historical characters into epic villains for Hellboy comics. From demonic soul collectors and children-devouring witches to Nazi occultists and deranged scientists, the Hellboy's gallery of rogues has them all. Let's introduce you to the nastiest of Hellboy villains, who wreaked havoc on the mortal realm to make Hellboy realize his own destiny, that is the destruction of the world. It all started when Grigory Rasputin performed a secret ritual on Tarmagant Island that brought an infant Hellboy to the human world. But unlike he had hoped, Hellboy turned out to be not so demonic. In fact, Hellboy went on to become a top paranormal investigator who encountered many baddies with the same goal as Rasputin's. If this makes you think that Rasputin is the biggest, baddest adversary in the Hellboy universe, then wait till you meet the Ogru Jihad. So let's begin, shall we? But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is an immensely powerful witch from Russian folklore, in which she flies around in a wooden mortar, is associated with forest wildfires, and eats fried children. Yikes. Of course, the Hellboy comics give her a unique twist, one that brought her face to face with the titular hero. When Baba Yaga attempted to resurrect the Russian dictator Joseph Stalin, Hellboy had to shoot out her eye and transport her to another dimension. Ever since, Baba Yaga has held a lifelong grudge against Hellboy and even cursed a town so that children are born blind in one eye. Baba Yaga appears in the 2019 Hellboy reboot movie as a grotesque, ghost-like witch with shriveled skin, wooden legs, a hairy tongue, and a menacing grin. Baba Yaga temporarily traps Hellboy in her dimension, striking a deal to replace her eye with Hellboy's. Baba Yaga even offers him cooked children, revealing to Hellboy that she's been kidnapping and eating kids all this while to satiate her never-ending hunger. After the witch keeps her side of the deal and tells Hellboy about the sorceress Nimwe's location, Hellboy refuses to let Baba Yaga take his eye, saying they did not agree on a time period. Infuriated, Baba Yaga attacks Hellboy with her sickles, but the superhero outmatches the witch, and she throws him out of the dimension before he could deliver the final blow. Ogru Jihad. The Ogru Jihad are vicious, supernatural, dragon-like entities and the overarching antagonists of the Hellboy comics. They are 7 in number and referred to as the 7 demons of oppression. The Ogru Jihad were brought to life with fire right after the creation of Earth, and within a short span, the Ogru Jihad spawned as many as 369 monstrous offspring, known as the Ogru Hem. Witnessing the progeny of monsters, the Watcher angels on Earth trapped the Ogru Jihad in a crystal prison and banished it to the deep, dark abyss of space. The Ogru Jihad revived the slain Grigory Rasputin when he was tossed into the Neva River so that he could free the dragons from their exile, turning Rasputin into an arch-enemy of Hellboy. The creator of the 7-headed dragon Enum was destroyed by the Watcher angels, except for his right hand, the only thing that could free the Ogru Jihad. Hellboy's father, the demon Azael, replaced baby Hellboy's hand with Enum's severed hand, known as the Right Hand of Doom, hoping to awaken the dragon monster again. The Ogru Jihad are the dragons mentioned in the Book of Revelation, the ones destined to bring about Ragnarok, which is the end of the world. In the Hellboy comics, the 7 Ogru Jihad dragons feature with Lovecraftian designs, with unique head shapes, each with crowns of green flame on their heads. The Ogru Jihad believes Hellboy is its destined opponent, and that, together, they are to carry on the destruction of the mortal world. Hecate. In Greek mythology, Hecate is a powerful goddess associated with protection from witchcraft, ghosts, and graves. But in Hellboy, Hecate becomes a goddess of witches and sorcery. Hecate was born from the shadows and delivered from a wolf's belly. She survived on the top of Mount Eos, drinking only blood and in the company of snakes and birds of prey. Hecate seduced the king Thoth to gain access to a secret garden where she killed 3 angels and drank their blood to gain all their knowledge. Infuriated by this treachery, Thoth turned Hecate's lower body into a snake, gave her ugly, scaly skin, and sunlight became her enemy. In the Hellboy comics, Hecate turned the Napoleonic officer Vladimir Gorescu into a vampire by giving him her soul. Hecate was also obsessed with Hellboy, constantly pursuing him and showing him his apparent destiny as a tool of his destruction. During Hellboy's encounter with Gorescu, Hecate attacked Hellboy, which ended with Hellboy exposing Hecate to sunlight and disintegrating her. But the remnants of her soul bit into Hellboy and swallowed him in order to show him the vision of the apocalypse that Hellboy is destined for. Hellboy resists Hecate's grasp and returns to his own reality by breaking off his newly regrown horns. The Black Flame. Even before Hellboy came into the picture, villains have plagued the Hellboy universe for ages. One of them was the Black Flame, an entity that moved from host to host. The first known Black Flame was Raymond Dietzel. In 1923, during his time as a guide in Bangkok, he accidentally discovers the Temple of the Black Flame and gets filled with the power of the Black Flame. He becomes a skeletal entity shrouded in dark flames who can teleport and fly through a burst of flames. This entity can generate flames powerful enough to reduce humans into mere bones within seconds. The Black Flame mantle was passed onto Mr. Pope, the evil CEO of Zinco Corporation, who was obsessed with frog monsters. Mr. Pope got his hands on the remains of Raymond, and holding a secret ritual with the frog creatures, Mr. Pope became the new Black Flame, exuding the signature dark flames. He lacked the ability to teleport, but he could communicate with the frog monsters in their language. This Black Flame could initially separate himself from his armor, but he eventually gave up being human and completely integrated with his armor. In time, Mr. Pope realized that the frogs were working to resurrect one of the 369 Ogru Hem, and that he had no real army to control. But he was unable to take off his armor and stop the flames burning from his body, and got dragged off deep underground by the frog monsters.
Be undone. I will open a portal and awaken the Ogru Jihad.
Grigory Rasputin. Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin, aka the Mad Monk, is the second most persistent enemy of Hellboy after Ogru Jihad. This supervillain is based on the real-life Russian mystic and faith healer Grigory Rasputin, who is well connected with Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia. He treated the emperor's only son for hemophilia and gained immense influence over the imperial family. He also had a sinister reputation amongst the masses for his mysterious practices. This sinister element translates into the Hellboy version of Rasputin, who could heal people and see the future, prompting a visit from the witch Baba Yaga, who told Rasputin that he was destined to herald a new age. He became sort of immortal by giving part of his soul to Yaga. Following his assassination, Rasputin was resurrected by the dragon monsters Ogru Jihad as their force on Earth. In time, he earned the moniker Mad Monk for his occult practices and was commissioned by the Nazis to weaken the Allied forces using dark magic. Thus, Rasputin headed Project Ragnarok, which is inspired by the apocalyptic event in Norse mythology, one that brings about the end of the world. The project intended to create a doomsday weapon that could end World War II and ensure victory for Nazi Germany. Rasputin used the project to pursue his own destiny of heralding a new age by attempting to trigger an apocalypse through Hellboy. As part of the project, Rasputin summoned the baby Hellboy to the mortal realm, but much to the surprise of Rasputin, what he thought was going to be a weapon of destruction, Hellboy did not turn out to be demonic, with Hellboy eventually being raised by Professor Trevor Broom. Through Hellboy's right hand of doom, Rasputin aimed to revive the Ogru Jihad in the mortal realm. Obsessed with his prophesized destiny, Rasputin spent his life trying to bring about the apocalypse, to create a new Eden, but was thwarted in his efforts every time by the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, especially Hellboy. In the 2004 Hellboy movie, Rasputin is the primary villain who has a supernatural entity residing inside of him, his personal god that prevents him from dying. He is still an occult mystic that works with the Nazis. In his attempt to summon the Ogru Jihad through a portal, Rasputin gets trapped in the dimension and is later revived by another villain, Cronin. Rasputin pursues his goal of trying to bring about an apocalypse through Hellboy, but irritated with his attempts, the big red demon stabs Rasputin with his severed horns, releasing the god from his body and killing him.
I heard tales about him all my life. Most just called him the Crooked Man.
The Crooked Man. Jeremiah Watkins, aka The Crooked Man, is the main antagonist of the 2008 comic story of the same name, and returns as the menacing villain in the latest Hellboy movie as well. Jeremiah lived in the treacherous areas of the Appalachian Mountains known as the Hurricane, where he had arrived hundreds of years ago. Jeremiah sold ammunition and liquor to both sides during the Civil War and American Revolution, and also stirred up much trouble between the natives and the settlers of his area. He was eventually hanged for his crimes, but he impressed the devil with his sins and returned as the Crooked Man, a demonic collector of souls. He recruited the witch Effie Kolb, and with her help converted local women into witches. Hellboy encountered the Crooked Man menace when he and Tom Farrell, a native who grew up near the hurricane, were attacked by Jeremiah's minions. Tom, who once used a cursed bone for a satanic ritual, was the target of the Crooked Man, who wanted to collect his soul for the devil. Seeking shelter in a church, Hellboy crushed the Crooked Man's physical form with a shovel, which was blessed by Reverend Watts. Hellboy tracked the Crooked Man all the way to his home, where he was reduced to his demon form, crouching over his jars of gold and saying, "It's mine, it's all mine." Tom then made the demonic creature disappear by throwing a holy bone at it. In his human form, the Crooked Man was a one-eyed rogue with a menacing grin, but in its demonic form, the Crooked Man turned into a skeletal, crab-like creature with eyes strewn all over its body.
Crétin! Your jokes are as pathetic as any attempt you might make to stop me. Not when power enough for 20 armies is finally within my reach.
Hermann von Klempt. This recurring nemesis of Hellboy is an eccentric Nazi scientist who constantly formulated schemes to destroy the world. Von Klempt was besties with the villain Cronin, who eventually becomes an inhuman Nazi assassin. Anyway, in 1936, when an experiment destroyed von Klempt's body, Cronin managed to keep Klempt alive by placing his head in a jar, which remained attached to spider-like mechanical legs. Klempt's obsession with cybernetics and wacky experiments led to the creation of the Kriegaffen, a race of cybernetically enhanced primates that he commanded. In 1946, von Klempt attempted to plague America with vampires, but he was tracked down in a secret lair beneath Berlin by the BPRD. During Hellboy's first mission for the BPRD, von Klempt sent an army of the undead to attack and resurrect the Third Reich. Overpowered by Hellboy and company, von Klempt managed to escape just in time when a Krieghoff ape rescued his head in a jar. In their next encounter in Brazil, Hellboy defeated von Klempt and his Krieghoff Brutus, and he disappeared for years. Von Klempt's head was revived again by Cronin, who told him all about Rasputin's world-destroying Ragnarok project. Von Klempt was so maniacal that he asked Cronin to abandon Rasputin's plan and use his army to conquer the world. Von Klempt is the main antagonist of the Hellboy Science of Evil game. Klempt's final showdown with Hellboy happens inside a castle when the scientist unleashes a giant mutant to slaughter Hellboy. But Hellboy shoves his head in a jar into the core of the mutant, causing an explosion. Cronin. In the comics, the antagonist Carlrup Cronin is a Nazi scientist working for Grigori Rasputin on Project Ragnarok. Cronin was obsessed with operating on himself and conducting bizarre experiments to conquer life and death. He got disfigured in a freak accident that forced him to always wear a gas mask and protective bodysuit, in addition to his elaborate Nazi uniform. In the Hellboy films, Cronin received a detailed backstory and was portrayed as one of the most eccentric villains of the franchise. Once an opera prodigy, his career went south after his voice changed because of puberty. That, and a combination of masochism and perfectionism, pushed him into surgical addiction. He started removing his nails and eyelids to reach perfection, and his OCD led him to wear a tight-fitted mask to keep the germs at bay. After meeting Rasputin, Cronin became head of the Thule Society, comprised of German officials with an interest in the occult. During Project Ragnarok, Cronin created the portal generator that summoned Hellboy in 1944. When the Allied forces attacked, Cronin was severely wounded, which destroyed his arm, chest, and spine. Combining Rasputin's black magic and his own surgical prowess, Cronin revived himself with a mechanical hand and a clockwork heart, operated by a key, which he wound up rigorously before a fight to amp up his performance. Eventually, the blood in Cronin's veins dried up and he stopped feeling any sort of pain, making him sort of immune to gunshot wounds. After Cronin killed Professor Broom, Hellboy avenged his death by skewering Cronin's modified body on a spiked pit and crushing him with a cog.
I've been waiting for you both. Many
The Angel of Death. Here we have an entity who is always present at crossroads in Hellboy's life, where Hellboy might die, waiting for his life to end. We are talking about the Angel of Death from 2008's movie Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. The Angel of Death is actually a personification of Hellboy's own death. It waited for Hellboy to die for years while resting in the ruins of Bethmora. The time finally arrived when Hellboy was weakened by a portion of Prince Nuada's spear stuck in his chest, and Liz Sherman brought him to the Death Angel, hoping to remove the fragment. The Angel of Death greeted Hellboy with his original name, saying, "At last, I have been waiting for you both many a winter moon." The Death Angel pays no heed to the groaning, wounded Hellboy and offers a choice to Liz, that Hellboy is destined to bring about Earth's destruction, and whether Liz still wants him to live. The world or Hellboy is the choice that Liz has to make. When Liz chooses Hellboy, the Angel of Death makes a premonition that when the time will come, Liz will suffer the most. The Death Angel removes the spear fragment, which revives Hellboy, and then disappears. The most striking element of the Death Angel is its intimidating appearance. Its skeletal body has huge, crusted wings with multiple eyes on them, leaving its head sightless. Saru-Hem. This tentacled Lovecraftian monster is one of the 369 Ogru Hem, the spawns of the Ogru Jihad. This grotesque mass of tentacles comes with snapping claws and a creepy cluster of eyes, with the feelers becoming its head. With the Ogru Jihad banished away, Saru-Hem was imprisoned on Earth so that the Ogru Jihad could have some foothold in the mortal realm. When Grigori Rasputin discovered the Saru-Hem, it served as Rasputin's connection with the Ogru Jihad. After Hellboy's adoptive father, Professor Broom, disappears in the Arctic during an expedition, the search for him takes Hellboy to Cavendish Hall, where Rasputin and the Ogru Hem had secretly installed themselves. With the help of the Ogru Hem, Rasputin yet again wanted Hellboy to embrace his destiny of starting the destruction of the world. In the showdown between Hellboy's team and Rasputin, the latter was impaled by Abe Sapien, and the entire place was burnt down by Liz Sherman, which apparently killed the conduit, Ogru Hem, as well. But the Ogru Jihad can regenerate from its parts, so a decade later, a tiny remnant of the Ogru Hem preserved at the BPRD managed to engulf an entire human and escape. Reaching Michigan, the Ogru Hem converted the people of a town into murderous frog monsters. The Jaguar Spirit. The Jaguar Spirit is another enigmatic evil of the Hellboy franchise, which comes with a twisted and tragic backstory. Veteran Marine Benjamin Daimyo ventures into Bolivian jungle and encounters a sinister tribe that worships the native jaguar and mercilessly kills innocents. During the clash, Benjamin comes face to face with the evil Jaguar Spirit that mysteriously declares his new life is about to begin and possesses Benjamin. 3 days later, when the former Marine is believed to be dead, he wakes up just before his autopsy, still retaining the gaping wound on the left side of his face. Benjamin joins the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense as a commander, but soon the Jaguar Spirit starts overpowering his actions as his were-jaguar alter ego and goes on a killing spree. It slaughters the Chinese mystic, who is working to keep the spirit at bay inside of Ben, and also kills several of his BPRD members. Sadly for Ben, he remains fully aware of the heinous deeds of his alter ego, thus witnessing the murders but unable to do anything. When the were-jaguar alter ego emerges, Ben possesses superhuman durability and strength and remarkable regenerative healing powers. Immune to conventional weaponry, the Jaguar Spirit can only be harmed by a few magical weapons. Groot. This shape-shifting warrior fairy is one of the most persistent adversaries of Hellboy, who blames and hates the Big Red for getting trapped in the body of a boar-like giant named Grom. When the supernatural beings Dewey and She stole a baby named Alice Monaghan, she was replaced by the shape-shifting Groot to mask the baby's disappearance. But the Monaghans sensed something was wrong and called on Hellboy to investigate the matter. Hellboy easily exposed Groot and forced him to reveal how to retrieve the baby from the Duayen Sea. Humiliated and defeated, the Groot escaped through the fireplace and jumped into a river, only to awaken Grom, the last of the Fomorian giants. Groot set Grom loose to attack Hellboy, but Groot floated too easily to the giant and was devoured alive. Hellboy managed to defeat Grom using a holy artifact, which shrunk him in size and sent him running away with Groot trapped inside. Groot eventually takes over the mind of Grom and controls the now dwarf body of the humanoid boar. Blinded by hatred for Hellboy, Groot brings about the eclipse of his own race of fairies by realizing the deadly witch Nimue, aka the Queen of Blood. Groot then accidentally awakens the spirit of the legendary wizard Merlin, prompting the wizard to curse Groot to stay alive long enough to watch the world burn. Repenting, Groot asks Hellboy to finish him off, but Merlin's curse holds, and he is left hanging from a noose at the Queen of Blood's castle. Marvelous verdict. Hellboy's profession has made it impossible for him to avoid adversaries, and that's the reason the Hellboy universe has such interesting villains with real-life counterparts from the pages of history. Hellboy encounters evil witches, Nazi baddies, deadly monsters, shape-shifting creatures throughout his career as a paranormal investigator, but manages to save the world and mankind from destruction every single time. So, which Hellboy villain do you think can make the Big Red sweat? Is it Rasputin, or Baba Yaga, or Cronin, or the Ogru Jihad? Please tell us what you think in the comments section below. We will come back with more Rogues Galleries for you. Till then, if you smell something fishy, don't forget to call in the Big Red. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.